Aloha! Welcome back to another episode. Today I'm doing the part 2 of the video that I started, the last video that I just uploaded about the NFL draft, just going over all the teams kind of generally and talking about, do I like their picks, not based on how talented the players are, because obviously I don't know that. Not even scouts and general managers know that, obviously, because that's why they wouldn't draft busts if that was the case. But I'm just going over what I like them in terms of positions and in terms of what the team needed. Anyway, let's get on to the AFC. Starting off with the AFC North and the Pittsburgh Steelers, they got Najee Harris in the first round. I don't know if that's great. Mostly just because they definitely need a running back that's not, up for debate. But what is up for the debate is, do they have the offensive line to block for Harris? I'm not sure. Maybe it won't matter. There are certain running backs where even if the line isn't very good, they can still be effective running the ball. Maybe Harris is one of those running backs. I guess time will tell. They later went on to get a tight end in the second round, a guard in the third round, a tackle in the fourth, linebacker in the fourth, defensive tackle in the fifth, linebacker in the sixth, corner in the seventh, and a punter in the seventh. So as you can see, there's a lot of defense there, and a lot of offensive linemen. I like the rest of that draft very much, except for the punter. Maybe the punter will be good. I don't know. But other than the punter, I think everyone could contribute on that team a lot. So I like the defensive focus at the end and the offensive line focus. Okay, moving on. The Cleveland Browns got interesting with their picks, mostly because they're a lot like Tampa Bay in terms of they don't have a glaring need. Don't get me wrong, they're not as good as Tampa, obviously, but they're not. They don't have a glaring need, but they did, go out and get people that I'm interested to see what happens here. They got a corner in the first round. They got Kamara, the linebacker, in the second, which I'm really interested in because he plays a lot of, corner, safety, linebacker kind of combination. I think it could be really interesting if they have a plan for him. Then they got a wide receiver in the third, a tackle in the fourth, a linebacker in the fifth, a defensive tackle again in the fourth, and a safety in the fifth, and a wide receiver in the sixth. Overall, I think it's really interesting draft. I like, maybe the two wide receivers can develop into stuff that, that could be even more of a rotational piece. Plus, who knows with OBJ how long he's going to be there. The corner positions, I like getting bolstered a little bit. I like the safety pick as long as, obviously this is all predicated on them being able to figure out if these players are good or not. But hopefully they are. And I guess we'll see. Okay, then you got the Bengals, who, I don't know. They missed Penei Sewell. I really thought they were going to get Sewell. I really hoped they were going to get Sewell because they really needed Sewell or a tackle. They got Jamar Chase, and I know that he could be, really, really good, especially with Joe Burrow there. But man, their offensive line sucks. I know they got some later on. They got tackle in the second round and in the fourth, and they got a center in the sixth. But I mean, man, I don't know. If Sewell is as good as people say he is, that might be not what the Bengals really needed. Later on, they also got a lot of edge and defensive tackle people, which I like. They got a kicker in the fifth round. That's too high of a draft pick for a kicker, but I don't know, maybe he'll play 20 years in the league and be the next Adam Vinatieri, I don't know. Baltimore, they got a wide receiver, which they desperately need. They actually have two receivers, I think. Yeah, they got two receivers, and they got a fullback in the fifth round. Outside of that, they went, and they got a guard. But they went a lot of defense. Outside of those things, they got a linebacker, they got a corner, they got another corner, they got a defensive end. So it's a nice mix of offense and defense. I like the two receiver picks because they desperately need receiver help. That granted, Lamar needs to be able to throw them the ball, which is something that I don't think he's been able to fully master yet, but I guess we'll see. The Colts picked a defensive end out of Michigan, so they did a good draft, nothing else to talk about. Okay, then Jacksonville, obviously Trevor Lawrence. I don't have to say anything there. It was obvious he was going to be the first overall pick. I'm really interested to see how his career turns out. I'll be watching that closely. Travis Etienne. I don't get this pick either. Man, if I'm James Robinson, I'd be pissed. I mean, you literally just proved that you don't need to spend an early round, or heck, even any ground on a running back with James Robinson. He comes out and is the only reason that team has any sort of offense at all last year. And then you go out and spend a first-round pick on ATN. I mean, I get if you want like a rotation, right? I get that, and maybe ATN is great for that. But I mean, there are so many holes on that team that to me screams Tampa Bay Buccaneer or Cleveland Brown pick, where it's like you don't have a lot of holes, and you know if you bolster this with an extra guy, dude, you could be a Super Bowl champion. I get that, but the Jacksonville Jaguars have no defense whatsoever. Their offensive line isn't that amazing, and they don't really have a lot of great receivers. I mean, I know they kind of addressed that in the offseason, but they could have used another one to just pick, I think, the one position that they kind of already didn't, like it wasn't a need, like they already had one in the first round. Man, I don't know. I guess we'll see. Titans went out and got a corner, a offensive tackle, a linebacker, another corner, a defensive end, a wide receiver, and a safety. I like this draft for the most part. I maybe would have went wide receiver a little earlier because they did lose Corey Davis in the offseason. I think that was the one they lost. But anyway, enough of me looking dumb. Look, I like their draft. They needed defensive help, especially in the secondary. They addressed that. I like that. Hopefully it works out for them. Houston, they had not a lot of picks, and their first pick was Davis Mills. Interesting. The thing is, I saw a lot of people being like, oh, this is a dumb pick. Even on, like, NFL Network, they were like, why would they draft a quarterback with their first pick? Why would you do that? You know, Rich Eisen was saying that. And it's like, I mean, there's a lot of problems with Watson. Currently, he doesn't want to play for the Texans. And then even if, you know, he does play for the Texans, then you get the whole other issue of he's being sued for, like, lots of problematic stuff. And if he did any of that, you know, there's a chance he might be suspended from the commissioner, and he might not even be able to play, even if he wanted to play with the Texans, which it doesn't really sound like he really wants to do. So I totally get the quarterback pick. I mean, they're going to need one, and they have Tyrod Taylor, but he's not really... I mean, he's a play for a few games kind of quarterback, but I'm interested to see if Mills plays at all this year. He probably will. Then they went on to get a wide receiver, obviously, to help because Will Fuller left and they need one. Tight end in the 5th round, linebacker in the 5th, and defensive tackle in the 6th. I think they needed more defensive help than that. I think they need more pass rush and they need secondary pieces. However, I do like the Davis Mills pick, and I think that is gearing up for the future, something that the Steelers and, you know, short-minded people are like, oh, why would you do that? Well, you do that because there's problems with Watson currently, and you just don't know how that's going to play out. The New England Patriots, I don't know, man. I'm kind of scared. They're going to be just as good as they were before. They got Mac Jones, who a lot of people are like, oh, Jones isn't going to be anything in the NFL. Look at him. He's whatever. He's the worst of the 5 quarterbacks that people were talking about this year. I don't think that's true. Jones, to me, he strikes me as maybe he won't make his own kind of plays. He's not super athletic, but, I mean, he plays at Alabama. In order to do that, you have to be able to look at the receivers, you know, read the defense, and throw them the ball. And that's at the best. When New England was at their best, that's what Brady did. He read the field very well, and throws it to the open receiver. They scheme him open. They get, you know, somebody like Randy Moss or something when Brady was there. And I know they don't have the same talent level they did when Brady was there, but they did go out and kind of address it in the offseason, and if even some of those moves work, it'll be really good. And I'm excited to see what Jones does, really. I don't think Newton's the answer there. I think he's not good anymore. And Jones has the potential to be... I don't want to say he has the potential to be the next Tom Brady, because I don't think anyone will ever do what Brady's done again, but I think he has the potential to, you know, be a good successor to him. Okay, you get the Dolphins. They got Jalen Waddle. Man, their offense is going to be quick. The problem is, can Tua throw them the ball accurately, and, you know, can he push the ball down the field with their fast targets? I don't know. I don't know, but I think it'll be interesting to see. They definitely are putting a lot of pieces around him. And then they go on to get a defensive end in the first round and a safety in the second who look really good. And, you know, they got some more depth after that. But, I mean, they also got a tight end in the third round. Man, if those players work out, especially in the early part of their draft, they could compete with Buffalo to win that division, I think. That could be interesting. And you get Buffalo, who get 2 defensive ends off the bat, then 2 offensive tackles. They did skip a round because it was 3rd and then 5th. And then they get a wide receiver, a safety, a corner, and a guard. I like the 2 defensive ends. They definitely need pass rush. A little surprised they didn't go with a running back, just because, I mean, they don't really have one. I know they're confident in Singletary and Moss, but I'm not. But I think it's interesting. I like their draft. They could be among the teams to beat in the AFC if those defensive ends turn out and they get their defense to match what their offense did last year. They could be a problem for teams. I think of the Jets, who I'm really intrigued by. I think they could make a jump. Not that I'm saying they will. They probably will still be bad. But they could definitely make a jump. They got Zach Wilson, who will probably be better than Sam Darnold. Look, I don't know if I believe in Sam Darnold. I really don't. I think that he has potential. I think that Adam Gase isn't good, and he went from, you know, a bad coach before, and then Adam Gase got there, and that was just a mess. I think that wasn't a fair situation for Sam Darnold. However, I don't know if Sam Darnold is going to be a good quarterback anyway. So, going out to get Zach Wilson, I like it, and they get a guard to protect him. Then they get Elijah Moore, who a lot of people have as their 4th wide receiver on the board. It was Chase, the 2 Alabama people, and Moore. I like the Moore pick. They need wide receivers. And then they go and get a running back, who I think they also need, but the question is, you know, again, offensive line. Can they block for him? I don't know, but I guess we'll see. Then they get linebacker and a corner and another corner and a linebacker and a corner and a defensive tackle. So the back half of it was all defense, and I like that. They need help on defense. Robert Saleh was a good defensive coordinator. Hopefully he can, you know, be able to find talent here in the later rounds. And if those offensive pieces mesh, they could make a jump. I don't think they're going to be, you know, amazing. I don't even know if they're a wild card team. They might be a 7th seed, like an outside chance for a 7th seed. They're definitely not going to compete for the division this year. But I think that they could have an outside chance of, you know, a very strong stretch for making the playoffs. But they could, you know, improve that record to, you know, 7-9 or 8-8 or something like that. Sorry if I moved. I couldn't sit like that anymore. That was annoying me. Anyway, last division here, West. The Broncos. They got Patrick Surtain. I like that. They need corners. I don't know about Surtain in particular, but they do need corners. They got a running back in the 2nd. They got a guard in the 3rd. They got a linebacker in the 3rd. I like that. It's a good mix of offense and defense so far. The thing I will say is they did not draft a quarterback at all this year, so that makes me think they're content with Locke and Bridgewater kind of battling it out there. That's interesting. I don't know if I would have went that route, but, you know, maybe it'll work. I don't know. Locke seemed to have a dip last year, and he did not look good, but quarterbacks normally have second-year dips, and he did look pretty good his rookie year. And I think Bridgewater is an okay player. He's kind of like an Andy Dalton. He's a low starter, but a high backup. If you need to put him in, I think he'll do adequately. I don't think he'll win you games, but I don't think he'll be the main reason you lose. You know what I mean? And you get Kansas City. They didn't have a lot of picks, but I mean, what do they really need? They went out and got a linebacker. Sure, they got a center. I don't know how their offensive line is going to work this year. It'll be interesting, but they really invested in it after the Super Bowl loss, so that's interesting. And then they got a defensive end. They got a tight end. They got a wide receiver, which I don't know what the heck they're going to do with another wide receiver on that team. And then they got another offensive lineman. I like the investment in the offensive line they've made to protect Patrick Mahomes. I think it's very smart. Their defense, I think, is the biggest problem, and they kind of addressed it sort of here, but not as much. I think they could have used a corner or another safety, but they did get a linebacker, and yeah, I mean, they're still a really good team. They were just in the Super Bowl twice. 2 years in a row. So I would not be surprised if they're there again for a third year. Raiders, they got something. They did something. They got Alex Leatherwood for their first overall pick. A very Raiders move where it's like some people are up on the guy, some people are down on the guy. Some people think, he'll be really good. Some think that he's going to be a bust and they didn't have him that high in their draft board. And that sounds exactly like the type of player that Gruden and Mayock has really been drafting since they've gotten there. So it sounds like a Raiders pick. I don't know if it's a good Raiders pick, but it sounds like a Raiders pick to me. And they get a safety in the second, they get a defensive end in the third, they get a corner in the third, you get a safety in the fourth, you get a corner in the fifth, and you get a center in the seventh. Other than the center and the offensive lineman, everything else was defense. And God, do they need it? Their defense was atrocious last year. The last team, the Chargers. They got a tackle to protect Justin Herbert. I loved Herbert last year. Hopefully he can continue to play like he did there. Because, man, that would be great. They got a corner. They got a receiver. They got a tight end. They got an outside linebacker. They got another tackle. They got another linebacker. They got a running back. And they got a corner. I love this draft for them if it works out. They needed corner help. They could have used an edge rusher, I feel, or like a defensive tackle, but I guess we'll see. Maybe the outside linebacker in the fourth round can provide something for them. The tight end, they obviously need to replace the loss of Hunter Henry. The wide receiver that they drafted was supposed to be a really big guy, along the same style as Williams, kind of. And then, more tackles, more, corners. I like this draft for them. I really do. Hopefully the Chargers can make a jump this year. So, the NFL draft. It's over. Now what do I do? Well, I have other ideas, but man, I've milked this dry, haven't I? Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you have any thoughts on any of these teams, any that you follow or any that you just have any thoughts on, let me know in the comments down below. And leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it. I really, for all my joking aside, I really did like making both the hour-and-a-half long video that I made a little bit ago and these two videos about these are what the teams did in the draft. I like it. I thought it was fun. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you want to see more content like this in the future from me, let me know and I will definitely do it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next episode. Goodbye!